The text that shattered everything. Evelyn Monroe's hands trembled as she stared at the glowing screen of her phone, the words burning into her vision like acid. She sat in her car in the underground parking garage of her own office building, the engine still running, heat blasting against the December cold. But she felt nothing except the ice spreading through her veins. "I'm sorry you have to see this. Your husband Marcus and your business partner Vanessa have been having an affair for 3 years. They're planning to steal your company. Tonight at 8 p.m., they're meeting at the Riverside Hotel, room 507, to finalize transferring your assets into offshore accounts. I have proof. Check the attachments. You deserve to know the truth. Someone who cares." Evelyn's breath came in shallow gasps. 3 years. 3 years of lies, of Marcus kissing her goodbye every morning, of Vanessa sitting across from her in board meetings, smiling, pretending to be her closest friend and trusted partner. 3 years of building their tech startup together while they plotted to destroy her. With shaking fingers, she opened the first attachment. A photograph of Marcus and Vanessa tangled in silk sheets, his hand possessively gripping her waist. The image was timestamped 2 days ago. The second attachment made her stomach turn. Bank statements showing systematic transfers from their company accounts into untraceable offshore holdings. The third was a recorded phone conversation, Vanessa's voice crystal clear. "Once we get her to sign the merger documents tomorrow, everything transfers to us. The stupid bitch built this entire empire and she's just going to hand it over. Marcus, your wife is the smartest idiot I've ever met." Marcus's laughter echoed through the recording. "She trusts too much. Always has. That's why this was so easy." The phone slipped from Evelyn's fingers, clattering onto the leather seat. Her vision blurred with tears she refused to let fall. Not yet. Not here. She looked at herself in the rearview mirror. 34 years old, CEO of a company worth $200 million, wearing a designer suit that cost more than most people's monthly rent. She looked successful, powerful, untouchable. She looked like a fool. The perfect life, the perfect lie. 6 hours earlier, Evelyn had woken up in the penthouse she shared with Marcus, sunlight streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Boston Harbor. Marcus had already been awake, bringing her coffee in bed, kissing her forehead with what she believed was genuine affection. "Big day today," he'd said, his smile warm and familiar. "The merger meeting with Quantum Tech. This is everything we've worked for, Evie." She'd smiled back, her heart full of love and trust. "We've worked for. I couldn't have built Monroe Digital without you supporting me." "That's what marriage is about," Marcus had replied, stroking her cheek. "Partners in everything." Partners. The word now tasted like poison. They'd been married for 5 years, together for 8. Marcus had been a struggling financial consultant when they met at a tech conference in San Francisco. Evelyn had just secured her first major investor for her software company. He'd been charming, attentive, genuinely interested in her ideas rather than just her appearance. In a world of men who talked over her in meetings, Marcus had listened. He believed in her vision. Or so she'd thought. Within a year they were married. Marcus quit his job to become Monroe Digital's CFO. "Your dream is my dream," he told her on their wedding night. "I want to help you build an empire." And Vanessa, God, Vanessa. They'd met in college, roommates who'd stayed friends through everything. When Evelyn needed someone she could trust to handle operations and partnerships, Vanessa had been the obvious choice. They'd been inseparable, building the company from Evelyn's one-bedroom apartment into a tech giant that revolutionized data security software. Vanessa had been maid of honor at Evelyn's wedding. She'd held Evelyn while she cried after her second miscarriage. She'd been there for every triumph, every failure, every vulnerable moment. All of it had been a performance. The evidence mounts. Evelyn forced herself to breathe, to think. Her mind, trained by years of business negotiations and strategic planning, kicked into gear despite the emotional chaos. She needed more information. She needed to understand the full scope of their betrayal before she decided how to respond. She opened her laptop, bypassing the company's security protocols she designed herself. If Marcus and Vanessa were stealing from her, there would be digital footprints. She spent the next 2 hours in that parking garage, her car becoming a war room, uncovering the architecture of their deception. The evidence was overwhelming. Marcus had been systematically creating false expense reports, diverting funds into shell companies. Vanessa had been manipulating partnership deals, steering lucrative contracts to businesses they secretly owned. Together, they constructed an elaborate scheme that would leave Evelyn with nothing but debt, while they walked away with hundreds of millions. The merger meeting scheduled for tomorrow wasn't about growth. It was the final piece of their plan. The document she was supposed to sign would transfer controlling interest of Monroe Digital to a holding company, a company Marcus and Vanessa controlled. By the time Evelyn realized what she'd signed, it would be too late. They'd have everything. Her company, her money, her future. And they'd probably been laughing about it the entire time. The breaking point. Evelyn's phone buzzed. A text from Marcus. Where are you? Dinner reservations at Giovanni's in an hour. Wear that red dress I love. Tonight's special. Red Heart. Special. He was probably planning to butter her up before tomorrow's meeting, making sure she was pliant and trusting when she signed away everything she'd built. Another text, this time from Vanessa. Can't wait for tomorrow. This merger is going to change everything for us. So proud of what we've built together, partner. You're my sister from another mister. Love you. 2 hearts. The casual cruelty of it hit Evelyn like a physical blow. They weren't even trying to hide anymore. They were so confident in their deception, so certain of her blindness, that they could send her loving messages while planning her destruction. Something inside Evelyn cracked. Not broke, breaking implied weakness. This was different. This was the sound of someone shedding their skin, emerging as something new, something harder, something dangerous. She looked at the time. 6:47 p.m. According to the anonymous message, Marcus and Vanessa were meeting at the Riverside Hotel at 8 p.m. She had just over an hour. Evelyn started her car and pulled out of the parking garage. But she didn't drive toward Giovanni's restaurant. She drove toward the Riverside Hotel. The confrontation. The Riverside Hotel was an elegant establishment on the waterfront, the kind of place where Boston's elite conducted their most private affairs. Evelyn parked across the street at 7:45 p.m., watching the entrance. At 7:52 p.m., Vanessa's silver Mercedes pulled up to the valet. Vanessa stepped out wearing a black cocktail dress, her dark hair swept up, looking beautiful and confident. At 7:58 p.m., Marcus arrived in his BMW. He handed his keys to the valet and walked into the lobby without looking around, without any awareness that his wife sat 50 yards away, watching his betrayal unfold in real time. Evelyn waited 5 minutes, then followed them inside. The hotel lobby was all marble and gold accents, a pianist playing soft jazz in the corner. Evelyn walked past the front desk with the confidence of someone who belonged, her heels clicking against polished floors. She took the elevator to the 5th floor, her heart pounding but her mind crystal clear. Room 507 was at the end of a quiet hallway. Evelyn stood in front of the door listening. She could hear voices inside. Marcus's deep rumble, Vanessa's laugh. They sounded happy, relaxed, completely unaware that their carefully constructed world was about to implode. Evelyn pulled out the master keycard she'd taken from the hotel manager's office. One of Monroe Digital's subsidiary companies handled the Riverside security systems. Evelyn had access to everything. She slid the keycard through the lock. The light turned green. She pushed open the door. The ultimate betrayal. Marcus and Vanessa were on the couch, papers spread across the coffee table, champagne glasses in hand. They were fully dressed. This wasn't a romantic tryst, this was business. Somehow that made it worse. This was cold, calculated betrayal. They looked up as Evelyn entered, shock freezing their features for a perfect, crystalline moment. Evie, Marcus stammered, jumping to his feet. What are you? How did you? Evelyn. Vanessa's voice was shrill, her composure cracking. This isn't what it looks like. Evelyn closed the door behind her with calm precision. She walked further into the room, her eyes scanning the documents on the table. Account numbers. Transfer authorizations. Tomorrow's merger papers, already signed by Marcus and Vanessa, waiting only for her signature to complete their theft. Actually, Evelyn said, her voice eerily calm, it's exactly what it looks like. You're stealing my company. You've been planning this for 3 years. And tomorrow, you were going to trick me into signing away everything I've built. Marcus's face went pale, then flushed red. Who told you? How did you? Does it matter? Evelyn picked up one of the documents, examining it with clinical detachment. These are very thorough. Impressive, really. You thought of everything. Offshore accounts, shell companies, false partnerships. If I'd signed these tomorrow, I would have been left with nothing but debt while you two sailed off into the sunset with my life's work. Vanessa tried a different approach, her eyes filling with tears. Evelyn, please let me explain. This whole thing got out of control. We never meant to hurt you. Don't. Evelyn's voice cut through the air like a blade. Don't you dare pretend this was an accident. 3 years, Vanessa. 3 years of lying to my face, pretending to be my friend, my sister. You held me when I cried about my miscarriages. Were you already sleeping with my husband then? Vanessa's tears stopped. Something cold flickered in her eyes. Yes, she said flatly. I was. The admission hung in the air. Marcus looked at Vanessa in shock, clearly not expecting her to confess so bluntly. Vanessa, what are you? Marcus started. Oh, shut up, Marcus, Vanessa snapped. She knows everything. There's no point in lying anymore. She turned back to Evelyn, and for the first time Evelyn saw the real Vanessa, calculating, cold, utterly lacking in remorse. You want the truth? Fine. I've hated you since college. Perfect Evelyn, so brilliant, so driven. Everyone loved you. Professors, investors, men. I was always in your shadow. So you decided to destroy me? Evelyn's voice remained calm, but inside something was burning. I gave you everything. I trusted you with my company, my life. You gave me scraps. Vanessa's voice rose. I did half the work building Monroe Digital, but you're the CEO. You get all the credit, all the glory. I was tired of being your sidekick. And Marcus? She glanced at him with something like contempt. Marcus was just convenient. A way to get close to you, to access everything. Marcus's face contorted with hurt and anger. Convenient? You said you loved me. I loved your access to Evelyn's money, Vanessa said cruelly. Did you really think I'd choose you over $200 million? Evelyn watched them turn on each other, their alliance fracturing. A bitter smile touched her lips. You deserve each other. The choice. Marcus turned to Evelyn, desperation flooding his features. Evie, please. I know I made mistakes, but Vanessa manipulated me. She. Don't, Evelyn said quietly. Don't make this worse by blaming her. You made choices, Marcus. Every single day for 3 years you chose to betray me. You looked me in the eye and lied. You held me at night knowing you were planning to destroy me. That wasn't Vanessa's manipulation. That was you. What are you going to do? Vanessa asked, her voice hard now, all pretense gone. Go to the police? They'll investigate for months, maybe years. By then we'll have moved the money somewhere you can't touch it. You can't prove half of what we've done. And even if you could, the scandal would destroy Monroe Digital. Your precious company would collapse. Is that what you want? Evelyn looked at the woman she'd once called her best friend, the man she'd once loved with her whole heart. They stared back at her with defiance and fear in equal measure, waiting for her response. And then Evelyn smiled. Not a warm smile. Not a sad smile. A smile that made both Marcus and Vanessa take an involuntary step back. You're right about one thing, Vanessa, Evelyn said softly. Going to the police would be messy. It would damage Monroe Digital. But there are other ways to destroy someone. Ways that don't involve courts or judges. Ways that are so much more personal. What are you talking about? Marcus asked nervously. Evelyn pulled out her phone, opening a file she prepared during her 2 hours in the parking garage. While you two were planning your little celebration tonight, I was working. I've frozen all the offshore accounts you created. I've notified every financial institution you've been dealing with about fraudulent activity. I've contacted every business partner you've been embezzling from. And most importantly, I've sent a comprehensive report to the SEC detailing every illegal transaction you've made. The color drained from Vanessa's face. You're bluffing. Am I? Evelyn showed them her phone screen. Emails already sent. Legal documents already filed. I'm not just the CEO, remember? I designed Monroe Digital's security systems. I know every backdoor, every password, every digital trail. You thought you were so clever. But you forgot who taught you everything you know about technology. Marcus sank onto the couch, his head in his hands. You've destroyed us. No, Evelyn corrected him coldly. You destroyed yourselves. I'm just making sure everyone knows about it. The walkaway. Evelyn gathered the documents from the coffee table, including the unsigned merger papers. These belong to me, along with everything else you tried to steal. You can't do this. Vanessa's voice rose to a near scream. We'll fight you. We'll tell everyone you're lying that I what? Evelyn turned back, her eyes blazing. That I discovered my husband and business partner have been committing fraud and embezzlement for 3 years? Please go ahead and tell people. The evidence is overwhelming. By tomorrow morning, every major news outlet will have the story. The FBI will be knocking on your doors. And me? I'll be in my office running my company, exactly where I've always been. She walked toward the door, then paused, looking back at them one final time. You know what the saddest part is? If you just asked me, I would have shared everything with you. I loved you both. I would have given you anything. But you had to take it. You had to betray me. And now you'll lose everything just like you planned for me to lose. Evelyn, wait. Marcus started, reaching for her. Don't touch me, Evelyn said, her voice dropping to a whisper that was somehow more frightening than a shout. Don't ever touch me again. You're dead to me. Both of you. She walked out of room 507, leaving behind the 2 people who destroyed her life and her ability to trust. But as she rode the elevator down to the lobby, Evelyn felt something unexpected. Not sadness, not even anger anymore. She felt powerful, focused, clear. They tried to break her. Instead, they'd forged her into something stronger. The mysterious message. Evelyn sat in her car in the hotel parking lot, her hands gripping the steering wheel, processing everything that had just happened. Her phone buzzed with a new message from the same unknown number that had sent her the initial warning. You handled that well. But Marcus and Vanessa aren't your only problem. There's someone else involved, someone who's been pulling strings from the shadows. If you want the whole truth, meet me tomorrow at midnight. The old waterfront warehouse on Harbor Street. Come alone. You'll want to hear what I have to say. Trust me, or what's left of your company will be gone within a week. No matter what you did tonight. Evelyn stared at the message, her mind racing. Someone else? The anonymous tipster clearly knew more than they'd revealed. But could she trust them? Was this another trap? Another message appeared. I know you're questioning whether to trust me. I don't blame you. But I'm the reason you found out about Marcus and Vanessa before it was too late. I've been watching them. And I've been watching you. Tomorrow at midnight, you'll understand everything. Or you can ignore this message and wonder for the rest of your life who really destroyed you and why. Evelyn's finger hovered over the delete button. Every rational instinct told her this was dangerous, potentially a setup. But something else, intuition, desperation, or maybe just the need to know the complete truth, made her hesitate. She typed back. How do I know this isn't another betrayal? The response came immediately. You don't. But you're Evelyn Monroe. You didn't build a tech empire by playing it safe. Midnight tomorrow. Harbor Street. Don't be late. Evelyn sat in silence, watching the hotel entrance. Minutes later, Marcus and Vanessa emerged, their body language screaming conflict. They were arguing, their alliance already fracturing under pressure. Marcus grabbed Vanessa's arm. She shook him off violently. They separated, getting into their respective cars and driving off in opposite directions. Destroyed from within, just as Evelyn had intended. But now with this new message, she realized her revenge might be far from over. In fact, it might only be beginning. Evelyn Monroe had uncovered one betrayal. But what secrets still lurked in the shadows? Who was this mysterious messenger? And what would she discover at that warehouse tomorrow night? The truth was far darker than she could imagine. Part 2: Heartbreak and Revenge. The morning after. Evelyn didn't sleep. She spent the entire night in her home office, surrounded by multiple monitors displaying financial records, security footage, and communication logs. Her penthouse apartment felt different now. The home she'd shared with Marcus for 5 years had become a crime scene, every corner tainted by his betrayal. At 6 a.m. the news broke. Every major business network led with the same story. Monroe Digital CFO and COO implicated in massive fraud scheme. Evelyn's carefully prepared press release had gone out at midnight, backed by irrefutable evidence. The SEC had already issued statements confirming their investigation. Her phone wouldn't stop ringing. Investors, board members, reporters. She ignored them all except one call. From her attorney, Patricia Chun, a ruthless corporate lawyer who'd helped Evelyn navigate countless business battles. "You didn't tell me you were planning nuclear war," Patricia said without preamble. "They were stealing from me, Patricia. From the company. From our investors. I know. I've seen the evidence. It's airtight." A pause. "But Evelyn, this is going to get ugly. Marcus has already hired Gerald Thornton." Evelyn felt a chill. Thornton was famous for defending white-collar criminals. Expensive and ruthless. He can't possibly defend what Marcus did. He doesn't need to defend it. He just needs to make you look vindictive. A scorned wife exaggerating financial irregularities to punish her cheating husband. Patricia's voice softened slightly. "Are you sure you want to go through with this? We could still settle quietly. Marcus and Vanessa disappear, you keep the company, everyone moves on." "No," Evelyn said flatly. "They tried to destroy me. They deserve everything that's coming." "All right. Then we fight." "But Evelyn." Patricia's voice turned grave. "Be prepared. When you declare war, the casualties include yourself." The board meeting. At 9 a.m., Evelyn walked into Monroe Digital's boardroom wearing armor in the form of a black Armani suit, her hair pulled back severely, her face carefully composed. The board members were already seated. 8 men and women who'd helped build the company, who trusted Evelyn's leadership, and who now looked at her with expressions ranging from concern to barely concealed accusation. Richard Hartwell, the oldest board member and a major investor, spoke first. "Evelyn, this situation is unprecedented. We need to understand exactly what happened." Evelyn spent the next hour presenting everything. The evidence of fraud, the offshore accounts, the planned theft. She showed them documentation, recordings, timestamps. She laid bare 3 years of calculated deception. When she finished, the room was silent. Finally, Jennifer Park, head of operations, spoke. "This is damning evidence against Marcus and Vanessa. But Evelyn, we need to address the elephant in the room. You're emotionally compromised. Your husband and your business partner betrayed you. How do we know your judgment isn't clouded? How do we know this isn't partially revenge?" "Because revenge is emotional," Evelyn said coldly. "This is business. They committed fraud. They embezzled funds. They violated fiduciary duty. Whether or not I'm hurt personally doesn't change the facts." "We're not questioning the facts," Richard interjected. "We're questioning whether you can continue leading this company through what's going to be a massive public scandal. The optics are terrible. A woman scorned, destroying her husband's career. Fair or not, that's how this will be spun." Evelyn felt anger flash through her, but she kept her voice level. "So you want me to step aside? Let them win. We want you to consider what's best for Monroe Digital," Jennifer said carefully. "Maybe taking a leave of absence while we navigate this crisis." "No." Evelyn's voice cut through the room like a knife. "I built this company from nothing. I will not be pushed out because I had the audacity to catch criminals. If this board doesn't support me, I'll go to the shareholders directly. Let's see how they feel about installing new leadership while the company is under attack." The threat hung in the air. Evelyn owned 51% of Monroe Digital's shares. She had ultimate control. But forcing the issue would fracture the company at the worst possible time. Richard sighed heavily. "No one wants a civil war, Evelyn. We're just trying to protect the company. And you. Then protect me by standing with me," Evelyn said. "Marcus and Vanessa will come after me with everything they have. They'll lie, manipulate, and try to paint me as the villain. I need this board united. I need you to trust that I'm doing what's necessary." Slowly, reluctantly, heads began to nodding around the table. But Evelyn saw the doubt in their eyes. The betrayal had damaged more than her marriage. It had damaged her credibility, her authority, her power. And somewhere out there, according to the mysterious messenger, someone was watching, waiting. planning something worse. The unexpected ally. After the board meeting, Evelyn returned to her office to find someone waiting. A woman in her early 50s, elegantly dressed, with silver-streaked dark hair and intelligent eyes that seemed to see through everything. "Ms. Monroe, I'm Diana Castellanos," the woman said, standing. "I'm sorry to intrude, but I couldn't reach you by conventional means. Your assistant tried to stop me, but—" She smiled slightly. "I can be very persuasive." "Who are you?" Evelyn asked, her guard immediately up. "I'm an investigative journalist. I've spent the last 6 months researching your company for a profile piece. But what I found, it's bigger than corporate fraud." Diana pulled out a tablet, showing Evelyn a complex web of connections. Marcus and Vanessa weren't working alone. They were just pawns. Evelyn's blood ran cold. "What are you talking about?" 3 years ago, a private equity firm called Apex Holdings approached several of your competitors, offering to help them acquire Monroe Digital. When traditional acquisition methods failed, they apparently decided on a different strategy. Diana zoomed in on one name on the web. Apex Holdings is owned by a man named Victor Kane. The name meant nothing to Evelyn. "Who is he?" "Someone you humiliated 15 years ago." Diana pulled up an old photograph. A young man in his 20s, good-looking but with eyes that held cruelty. "Victor Kane was your classmate at MIT. You beat him for the Thompson Prize, full scholarship, and a $100,000 grant. It was the most prestigious award in your program." Evelyn's memory stirred. "Victor." Yes, she remembered him vaguely. Brilliant but arrogant, convinced the prize was his. When Evelyn won instead, he'd accused her of cheating, demanded an investigation. When the investigation found no wrongdoing, he'd left MIT in disgrace. "That was 15 years ago," Evelyn said. "You're telling me he's been planning revenge for that long?" "Not just revenge. Victor went on to build a business empire, but he never forgot that you beat him. When Monroe Digital started gaining attention 5 years ago, he saw an opportunity. He approached Marcus first. Your husband was drowning in gambling debts you didn't know about. Victor offered to pay them off in exchange for Marcus helping him destroy you from the inside." Evelyn felt the room spin. Gambling debts. $50,000. Marcus was desperate, vulnerable. Victor exploited that. He introduced Marcus to Vanessa, who'd been hired by Apex Holdings after she responded to a job posting. Everything that happened, the affair, the embezzlement, the planned takeover, Victor orchestrated all of it. "Why are you telling me this?" Evelyn asked, her voice hoarse. Diana's expression turned fierce. "Because Victor Kane is a monster. He's done this to other companies, other people. He destroys lives for profit and entertainment. I've been trying to expose him for years, but he's too careful, too well-connected. You're my chance. If you go after him, I'll help you. I'll give you everything I've uncovered." Evelyn stared at the web of connections on Diana's tablet. If this was true, then Marcus and Vanessa were victims too, manipulated pawns in a larger game. It didn't excuse what they'd done, but it meant her real enemy was still out there. "Does Victor know I've discovered the fraud?" Evelyn asked. "Almost certainly. Which means he's already adapting his strategy." Diana leaned forward. "Evelyn, you need to understand something. Victor doesn't just want to destroy your company. He wants to destroy you personally. He's patient, methodical, and absolutely ruthless. Whatever you think you're prepared for, it's worse. What do you suggest I do?" "Meet with your anonymous messenger tonight. I believe they're connected to Victor, possibly someone on the inside of Apex Holdings who's turned against him. They might have information we desperately need." Diana pulled out a business card. "Call me after the meeting. Whatever you learn, we'll figure out our next move together." As Diana left, Evelyn sat in her office, surrounded by the trappings of success she'd fought so hard to achieve. Everything she'd believed about her life had been a carefully constructed lie. Her marriage, her partnership with Vanessa, even the threats to her company. All of it was orchestrated by a man she'd forgotten existed. The investigation deepens. Evelyn spent the rest of the day digging deeper. She hired a private investigator, a former FBI agent named Thomas Burke, to verify Diana's information. By 6 p.m., Burke had confirmed the basics. Victor Kane did own Apex Holdings, Marcus did have gambling debts that were paid off 3 years ago, and Vanessa had indeed been employed by Apex before joining Monroe Digital. But Burke found something else. Something that made Evelyn's blood turn to ice. "There's a life insurance policy on you," Burke said, pulling up documents on his laptop. $5 million. Marcus took it out 3 years ago. He's the beneficiary. Evelyn stared at the policy. "You're saying Marcus was planning to?" "I'm not saying anything definitive. But combined with everything else? Ms. Monroe, you need to be very careful. If Victor Kane is as ruthless as this journalist claims, and if Marcus is desperate enough, $5 million might look like a solution to all his problems." Evelyn felt fear twist in her stomach for the first time. She'd been focused on protecting her company, her reputation. She hadn't considered that she might be in physical danger. "I'm assigning you a security team," Burke continued. "Former Secret Service. They'll be discreet, but they'll be there 24/7 until we sort this out." "You think that's necessary?" Burke looked at her seriously. "Ms. Monroe, desperate people do desperate things. And from what I can see, Marcus Hartman is very, very desperate." Marcus strikes back. That evening, as Evelyn prepared for her midnight meeting, Marcus went on television. She watched from her penthouse as her husband, soon-to-be ex-husband, sat across from a sympathetic talk show host, tears streaming down his face. "Evelyn has always been controlling," Marcus said, his voice breaking. "I loved her, I still love her, but she couldn't stand the idea that I might have success separate from her. When I started exploring other business opportunities, she saw it as betrayal." "Are you denying the fraud allegations?" the host asked. "I'm saying they're exaggerated. Were there financial irregularities? Perhaps. But nothing criminal. Evelyn is a brilliant woman, but she's also vengeful. When she discovered my relationship with Vanessa, she decided to destroy both of us." Marcus looked directly into the camera. "Evelyn, if you're watching, please, let's stop this before it destroys everything we built together. I made mistakes, yes. But this war you're waging, it's going to hurt you more than it hurts me." Evelyn turned off the television, her jaw clenched. Marcus was playing the victim, trying to manipulate public opinion. And based on the social media response already flooding in, it was working. #IStandWithMarcus was trending. Comments poured in calling Evelyn bitter, vindictive, a woman scorned who couldn't separate personal from professional. Her phone rang. "Patricia Chen. Have you seen?" "I saw," Evelyn interrupted. "We need to respond. Immediately." "No," Evelyn said. "Let him think he's winning. We respond in court with evidence. Not in the media with tears." "Evelyn, public opinion matters." "I don't care about public opinion. I care about the truth." She checked her watch. 11:15 p.m. "I have to go. I'll call you tomorrow." "Where are you going at this hour?" "To find answers." The warehouse meeting. Harbor Street was deserted at midnight. The old waterfront warehouse, a relic from Boston's industrial past. Evelyn's new security team wanted to accompany her inside, but she'd insisted they wait in the car. Whoever had sent those messages had been clear. "Come alone." She pushed open the rusted door, stepping into darkness. The warehouse smelled of salt water and decay. Moonlight filtered through broken windows, creating shadows that moved like living things. "Hello," Evelyn called out, her voice echoing. "You came." The voice emerged from the shadows, female, young, familiar in a way that made Evelyn's heart skip. A figure stepped into the moonlight. Evelyn gasped. "It's not possible." The woman before her was in her mid-20s, with dark hair and eyes that were achingly familiar. She wore jeans and a leather jacket, but it was her face that made Evelyn's world tilt. She looked almost exactly like Evelyn had at that age. "Hello, Evelyn," the woman said. "My name is Sarah Kane. I'm Victor Kane's daughter. And I'm here because my father is planning to kill you." The truth revealed. Evelyn stared at Sarah, her mind struggling to process this impossibility. "Victor's daughter? Why would you?" "Because I'm sick of what he is," Sarah interrupted, her voice passionate. "I've watched him destroy people my entire life. He's obsessed with you, Evelyn. He has been since MIT. That award you won? It wasn't just about the scholarship. It was about proving he was superior. When you beat him, something in him broke. So he spent 15 years planning revenge? Not at first. He buried himself in business, built Apex Holdings, became successful. But every achievement felt hollow because you'd beaten him once. Then 5 years ago, he saw an article about Monroe Digital. About you. And it all came flooding back, the humiliation, the rage. He decided then that he would take everything from you. Just like he felt you'd taken everything from him. Sarah pulled out a tablet, showing Evelyn photographs and documents. He approached Marcus first. Your husband's gambling debts gave my father leverage. Then he placed Vanessa in your company as a spy. Everything that's happened, every betrayal, every moment of pain, he engineered it all. Why are you telling me this? Sarah's expression turned anguished. Because it's not enough for him anymore. Destroying your company, ruining your reputation, he wants you dead, Evelyn. He's convinced Marcus that the only way out of this mess is to make it look like you committed suicide. The fraud scandal, the public humiliation, the divorce, it creates the perfect narrative. Everyone would believe you couldn't handle the pressure. Evelyn felt cold fear wash over her. Marcus would never. Wouldn't he? Sarah pulled up more documents. Continue 10:47 My father has leverage on Marcus beyond the gambling debts. Recordings of Marcus discussing the embezzlement. Evidence that could send him to prison for decades. My father told Marcus that killing you is the only way he walks free. That the life insurance payout would fund a new life, far away from all of this. You're saying Marcus has agreed to this? I'm saying my father is very persuasive. And Marcus is very desperate. Sarah's voice softened. I'm sorry, Evelyn. I know this is devastating. But you need to disappear. Tonight. Right now. Get out of Boston, out of the country if possible. I can help you. No. Evelyn's voice was steel. I'm not running. Then you're going to die. Sarah grabbed Evelyn's arms desperately. You don't understand what my father is capable of. He's already paid someone to tamper with your car's brakes. He has people watching your apartment. He's planned every detail. Then he'll be disappointed, Evelyn said coldly. Because I'm not the same naive woman who walked down the aisle 5 years ago trusting that love conquers all. Your father created a monster, Sarah. He just doesn't know it yet. Sarah stared at her, something like admiration flickering in her eyes. What are you going to do? I'm going to destroy him, Evelyn said. Completely. Utterly. The same way he tried to destroy me. And you're going to help me. If I help you, my father will know I betrayed him. So choose, Evelyn interrupted. Be your father's accomplice in murder. Or be the person who stops him. There's no middle ground anymore, Sarah. For a long moment Sarah was silent. Then she nodded. All right. I'll help you. But we need to move fast. My father's planning to make his move within 48 hours. The plan. They spent the next 2 hours in that warehouse plotting. Sarah had access to her father's communications, his plans, his network. She showed Evelyn everything. The hired assassin posing as a repairman who'd tampered with her car. The surveillance team watching her movements. Even the fake suicide note Marcus had written in Evelyn's voice. This is elaborate, Evelyn murmured, studying the documents. Your father doesn't take chances. He's paranoid. Obsessive. He plans for every contingency. Sarah pulled up a final document. But he has one weakness. He can't resist showing his superiority. He wants you to know he beat you before you die. He's planning a final meeting. A moment where he reveals everything before Marcus carries out the murder. When? Tomorrow night. A charity gala at the Harbor Hotel. My father arranged for both of you to be invited. He's going to approach you there, gloat about his victory, and then, Sarah's voice caught. Then Marcus is supposed to drive you home. Your car will go off a bridge. Brake failure. Tragic accident. Evelyn's mind raced, formulating a plan. Can you get me into the hotel's security system? Why? Because I'm going to record your father's confession. And then I'm going to make sure the whole world knows exactly what Victor Kane is. Sarah smiled grimly. You're more like him than you realize. That's exactly what he would do. No, Evelyn said. I'm nothing like him. He destroys out of ego. I'm protecting myself. There's a difference. But even as she said it, Evelyn wondered if that was true. The woman she'd been 6 months ago wouldn't have planned what she was planning now. That woman had believed in fairness, in justice through proper channels. This new version of herself, forged by betrayal, was colder, harder, more willing to do whatever was necessary. Was she becoming the monster she was fighting? Evelyn. Sarah's voice pulled her back to the present. Are you sure about this? Once we start, there's no going back. Evelyn thought about Marcus's tearful performance on television, about Vanessa's casual cruelty, about Victor Kane orchestrating her destruction for 15 years because of a college award. She thought about Diana Castellanos saying that Victor had destroyed other lives, and about Sarah, his own daughter, so desperate to stop him that she'd betray her own father. I'm sure, Evelyn said. Let's end this. Evelyn Monroe had discovered the architect of her destruction. But as she prepared to fight back, the question remained. How far was she willing to go for revenge? And could she destroy Victor Kane without losing herself in the process? Tomorrow night at the Harbor Hotel, everything would be decided. Part 3: The Ultimate Payback. The calm before the storm. Evelyn spent the day preparing for war. With Sarah's help, she'd assembled a devastating arsenal of evidence, recordings, financial documents, communications between Victor and his hired criminals. Everything needed to bring down not just Victor Kane, but the entire corrupt empire he'd built over 15 years. But evidence alone wouldn't be enough. Victor was too well connected, too wealthy, with lawyers who could tie up any legal proceeding for years. Evelyn needed something more immediate, more public. She needed Victor to destroy himself. At 4 p.m., she met with Diana Castellanos in a secure location, a private room at a law firm Patricia Chun had arranged. Thomas Burke and his security team swept the room for bugs before allowing them inside. This is everything Sarah gave you? Diana asked, scrolling through files on an encrypted laptop. Everything, Evelyn confirmed. Communications proving Victor orchestrated the fraud, paid off Marcus's debts, hired Vanessa as a corporate spy. But more importantly, evidence of other companies he's destroyed using similar tactics. 7 different businesses over the past decade, all targeted because Victor felt personally slighted by their CEOs. Diana's eyes widened. This is bigger than I thought. If we release this properly. We're not releasing anything yet, Evelyn interrupted. Tonight at the gala, Victor is going to confess everything directly to me. I'm going to record it. And then we're going to broadcast his confession to everyone at that event, every media outlet, every law enforcement agency simultaneously. By the time his lawyers even know there's a problem, the damage will be irreversible. That's incredibly risky, Diana said. If Victor suspects anything, he won't. Because as far as he knows, I'm a broken, desperate woman on the verge of collapse. The board doesn't fully support me. Public opinion has turned against me. My husband just went on television playing the victim. From Victor's perspective, he's already won. Tonight is just his victory lap. Patricia Chun, who'd been silent until now, spoke up. And what about Marcus? If he's planning to kill you? He won't get the chance, Burke interjected. My team will be at the gala, heavily armed and highly visible. Marcus won't try anything in public. As for the car, we've already disabled the tampering and installed tracking devices. If Marcus tries to drive Ms. Monroe anywhere, we'll know exactly where they are. Evelyn looked around at these people who'd rallied to protect her. Diana, motivated by justice. Patricia, motivated by loyalty. Burke, motivated by professionalism. And Sarah, waiting in a safe house across town, motivated by redemption. An unlikely alliance but effective. Everyone knows their role for tonight? Evelyn asked. Nods around the table. Then let's finish this. The Harbor Hotel Gala. The Harbor Hotel ballroom glittered like something from a fairy tale. Crystal chandeliers, ice sculptures, guests in formal attire worth more than most people's yearly salaries. The charity gala was ostensibly to raise money for children's hospitals, but everyone knew these events were really about networking, showing off, and seeing who wielded real power in Boston's elite circles. Evelyn arrived at 8 p.m. wearing a silver gown that hugged her figure like liquid metal, her hair swept up to expose the elegant line of her neck. She looked like power incarnate, giving no sign of the fear and rage churning beneath her composed exterior. Heads turned as she entered. Whispers followed her. The woman at the center of the fraud scandal. The scorned wife. The CEO possibly on the verge of losing everything. Let them whisper, Evelyn thought. They'll be singing a different tune by midnight. Burke's security team melted into the crowd, invisible but present. Diana was already inside, posing as a reporter covering the event. Patricia was stationed in a suite upstairs, ready to file legal documents the moment Evelyn gave the signal. And somewhere in this glittering crowd was Victor Kane, waiting to savor his victory. Evelyn accepted a champagne glass from a passing waiter, scanning the room. She saw board members from Monroe Digital, competitors, investors, politicians. And then across the ballroom she saw Marcus. Confronting Marcus. Marcus looked terrible despite his expensive tuxedo. His face was gaunt, shadows under his eyes speaking of sleepless nights. When he saw Evelyn, something flickered in his expression. Guilt? Fear? Determination? She couldn't tell anymore. He approached her slowly, navigating through the crowd. When he reached her, he spoke in a low voice meant only for her ears. Evie, we need to talk. Privately. I don't think that's a good idea, Marcus. Please. His desperation was palpable. There are things you don't understand. Things I need to explain before. He stopped abruptly. Before what? Evelyn asked, her voice cold. Before you drive me home in a car with faulty brakes? Before you stage my suicide? Which part did you want to explain, Marcus? His face went completely white. How did you? Did you really think I wouldn't find out? Evelyn took a sip of champagne, her hand steady despite her racing heart. I know everything. Victor Kane, the gambling debts, the life insurance policy. I know you've been planning to murder me. Marcus looked around desperately, as if checking for exits. You don't understand. Victor has evidence that could send me to prison for decades. He said if I didn't. He said this was the only way. So you were just going to kill me? Evelyn's voice remained calm, but her eyes blazed. The woman you vowed to love and cherish? You were going to murder me to save yourself. I don't want to. Marcus's voice rose, drawing attention. He lowered it again, his hands shaking. Evie, I'm trapped. If I don't do what Victor wants, I'm destroyed. But I can't go through with it. I've been trying to find another way. There is another way, Evelyn said. You can help me destroy Victor. You can testify against him, provide evidence of his manipulation. Patricia can negotiate immunity for you in exchange for cooperation. Marcus stared at her, hope and fear warring in his expression. You do that? After everything I've done? I'm not doing it for you, Evelyn said flatly. I'm doing it because Victor Kane is the real enemy here. You're just his puppet. But Marcus, if you betray me again, if this is another manipulation, I will personally ensure you spend the rest of your life in prison. Do you understand? Before Marcus could respond, a new voice interrupted. Smooth, cultured, dripping with satisfaction. Evelyn Monroe. At last we meet again. Victor Kane. Evelyn turned to face the man who'd orchestrated her destruction. Victor Kane was in his early 40s, handsome and in cold, polished way. His tuxedo was perfectly tailored, his dark hair graying at the temples in a way that suggested distinguished rather than old. His eyes, however, were what caught Evelyn's attention, intelligent and utterly devoid of empathy. Victor, Evelyn said calmly, as if greeting an old friend rather than her would-be murderer. I was wondering when you'd introduce yourself. Victor smiled. I've been watching you all evening. You're handling this scandal remarkably well. Most people would have collapsed by now under the pressure. But then you were always remarkable, weren't you? That's what made beating you so important. Beating me. Evelyn kept her voice light, conversational. The recording device hidden in her necklace was already capturing every word. Is that what this is about? A college award from 15 years ago. It was never about the award, Victor said, his smile not reaching his eyes. It was about the humiliation. You took something from me, Evelyn. My pride, my sense of superiority. I spent my entire life believing I was the smartest person in any room. And then you came along and proved me wrong in front of everyone. So you destroyed my life? Evelyn let some emotion seep into her voice now, anger, pain. Let him think he'd gotten to her. You manipulated my husband, planted a spy in my company, orchestrated a fraud scheme? All because your ego couldn't handle losing. I didn't just destroy your life, Victor said, clearly enjoying himself. I gave you hope first. I let you build something beautiful, your company, your marriage, your reputation. I let you believe you were successful, happy, secure. And then I took it all away, piece by piece, watching you suffer. That's the art of true revenge, Evelyn. Not just destroying someone, but making them destroy themselves. Marcus, standing nearby, looked sick. Victor, stop. You've won. Just be quiet, Marcus, Victor said without looking at him. The adults are talking. He turned back to Evelyn. Do you know the best part? You'll never recover from this. Even if you somehow survive the scandal, you'll spend the rest of your life wondering who you can trust. Every relationship, every partnership, every friendship, you'll question all of it. I haven't just taken your company. I've taken your ability to believe in anything good. Evelyn felt genuine rage then, but she channeled it into her performance. Why tell me this? Why reveal everything? Because I want you to know, Victor said simply. I want you to understand exactly how thoroughly I've beaten you. And I want you to carry that knowledge with you to your grave. The threat was unmistakable. Evelyn saw Burke's security team subtly moving closer, ready to intervene if necessary. But Evelyn had one more card to play. Sarah's entrance. Father. Victor froze at the sound of his daughter's voice. He turned to see Sarah walking toward them, no longer hiding in the shadows. She was dressed formally, looking every inch the daughter of a powerful man. But her eyes held only contempt. Sarah. Victor's composure cracked for the first time. What are you doing here? I'm here to stop you, Sarah said calmly. She pulled out her own phone, showing Victor the screen. Everything you just said was recorded, not just by Evelyn's device but by mine. And it's already been uploaded to secure servers. Even if you destroy these phones, the evidence exists. Victor's face went from shock to furious in seconds. You betrayed me? Your own father. You're not a father, Sarah said, her voice breaking slightly. You're a monster. I've watched you destroy innocent people my entire life, and I told myself there were reasons that you had justification. But this. She gestured to Evelyn. This is sick. She beat you in college, so you spent 15 years planning to murder her? What kind of person does that? The kind who understands that weakness must be punished. Victor's mask had completely fallen now, revealing the rage beneath. I gave you everything, Sarah. I built an empire for you to inherit, and this is how you repay me. You built an empire of lies and manipulation, Sarah shot back. And I don't want any part of it. The commotion was drawing attention now. Other gala attendees were turning to watch, phones coming out to record this very public confrontation. Diana Castellanos was already streaming it live to her news network. Victor realized too late that he'd walked into a trap. His eyes darted around the ballroom, seeing the security team, the recording phones, the witnesses. You think this changes anything? He said to Evelyn, desperately trying to regain control. I have lawyers who'll destroy these recordings. I have connections that had connections, Patricia Chun said, appearing seemingly from nowhere. By the time you walk out of this ballroom, every law enforcement agency in the country will have received copies of your confession. The FBI, SEC, local police, they're already preparing warrants. Your assets are being